So it's not
But
because they think he's
but
above it. It's because they don't think he's breaking it.
Greenyald. If Trump tomorrow, Supreme Court says, Trump, you did this, you cannot do this, and Trump is like, I'm not listening to you. And I asked them, is Trump violating the Constitution? They're still going to say no. Because when they hear violating the Constitution, they're not hearing, oh, there's this Constitution. It's a very sacred, important document, and we got to follow it. Let's look at what it says. Oh, let me finish.
Yeah.
Let's look at what it says.
He's an old fuck.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
was
I
watching
just
a
don't.
video
I
this
don't.
morning.
I don't think we can live in a world where we just disregard all norms because, like, if half of the country is holding up the norms, then we still have norms. If the whole country gives up on the norms, then we have no norms.
No, we don't. No.
We do.
If half the country,
We do.
no,
What
if
are you
half
talking
the
about?
country is upholding norm, you don't have one-sided norms. That's not a thing.
But the norms
if half
aren't
the
one-sided. It's just that one side isn't
norms-
following them. But if half of
Yeah,
the country is still
yeah.
following norms, we still have norms.
Okay, then no.
Yes,
not.
yes,
If
we
half
do.
the country, no, norms have to be reciprocal. If half the country is upholding norms, what you have is just an unchecked other side. What you need to do on one side is
You don't
not
just have an
enforcing norms,
unchecked other side.
not
There is
enforcing norms.
there are still checks on people who don't uphold norms. Norms isn't the only thing that keeps us bound.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
The criminal law is one of the things that keeps us bound.
Okay, but like, what if we can just violate the courts? The courts
Sure, we
cannot-
could
Well,
all
then-
just decide to do that.
The-
yeah,
well,
but
if we
that's
say-
not gonna happen.
Do you
No,
think?
what I'm
Okay,
saying
I
is,
need.
like,
All
that's
right.
literally the Trumpist modus
Sample.
operandi right now.
Do you think
go
that
ahead.
if Trump ignores the courts, do you think we're going to see an uprising? Do you think that MAGA will go along with him?
I think like
Yeah.
some people may.
Yeah.
I don't think
a
MAGA.
small-
I think if he
small
ignores the
group.
Supreme Court, I don't think MAGA will go along with him.
Bro, they were literally saying he's the living embodiment of the Constitution. Yeah,
Who?
of course they will.
Who?
In CPAC.
Show me a link.
What, Bannon?
Did you miss it? Look up Jack Posobiec Trump embodiment Constitution. Look it up.
Alright, give me one
They
second.
were. He said Trump is the living embodiment of the Constitution, and they were all cheering.
Posobiec?
Yeah, the crazy pro-Russia military person or whatever. Bro, I don't know why you're shocked. They're like a cult.
I understand
do-
they're a cult, but I don't think that we live in a world where he could just ignore a Supreme Court order and that's it.
Do you want the link still?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Embodiment. Here we go. Wait, yeah, here we go. It's in the side chat. Wait, message failed to load. What the fuck? Why is the side chat freaking out? Okay, I'm sending it in the general chat.
Wait, also I had a question. Where did Grignard come from?
The name?
Yeah, it's a collection of sounds.
Give me 1 second.
Donald
He's
Trump
watching
is
the
not
he's watching the thing. He's gonna be
violating
like,
the
"Whoa, he said
Constitution.
it."
Donald Trump is
Yeah, I'm so correct.
restoring the American
No,
Constitution.
they would.
Donald
Trump can say, "Fuck the
is
Supreme
the
Court. I
living
nominated y'all. You cannot go against me." And they'll be like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Like they
embodiment
don't.
of the American
They're
Constitution
pro-Russia. These
and the
people are
people.
pro-Russia. Why
Yeah,
are we
like some of
pretending
the,
they
okay,
can't?
okay, hold on. Yeah, some of them were sure, but like large majority probably not. I'm also sure like the
Well-
elected officials probably not.
He would
There's
get
an
away with
important-
it. My
there's an
point is he
important
would get away
distinction
with
here.
it. I don't.
There's an
Yeah,
important
go ahead.
distinction here. They're saying that Donald Trump is not violating the Constitution. They're not saying that he's above the Constitution.
You're giving me the centrist thing.
No, I'm not giving you the
No.
centrist thing because I'm saying that Donald Trump does think he's above the Constitution, but I'm not saying I don't think MAGA actually thinks he's above the Constitution.
They were cheering. He's, bro. Do you think there's? I don't know.
They're
what,
saying that on the
I think
grounds
we're
that
all-
they think they're following it. They're saying that on the grounds
Oh.
that they think he's following it, and there hasn't been a significant challenge to any of his stuff yet.
I think I know the difference between like you and my centrist friends. Okay, I think my centrist friends said it because they have a conclusion that they're trying to justify. I think you're just suffering from like high IQ syndrome. You understand the difference between saying someone is like not violating the law, he's just a living embodiment of the Constitution, and saying he's above the Constitution. Okay, the average person The average MAGA person or the 70 percentile MAGA person doesn't have that distinction in mind. When they are cheering on Trump is the living embodiment of the Constitution, they're cheering on Trump is God. That's what
No, what they're cheering on is that he hasn't violated the Constitution. That's what he says at the beginning of the speech. He says, he literally, at the beginning of the clip that you showed me, he says, Trump hasn't violated the Constitution. That's the first thing he says.
I agree he said that, yeah.
So that's
I
what
was
they're
just
cheering,
explaining
is
to
that
you
he's being sued all over right now because he's, they're claiming that he violated the Constitution, but he didn't. That's what they're cheering. They're not cheering because he's a god.
He's literally saying Trump is the living embodiment of the Constitution. They're cheering. I agree that before that he was talking about how Trump doesn't break the Constitution. What I'm saying is the average voter, especially the average Trump voter, is retarded. They don't have the distinction in mind. When they're cheering this, they're cheering like I agree. Pasoviak is saying, or is that how you say his name? Pasoviak?
Doesn't matter.
So Pasoviak. Yeah, he's like saying, yeah, maybe he has like high IQ, so he's saying like, oh, Trump doesn't break the law or something, right? Maybe that. But the average person, what their modus operandi, what they're thinking, what they're saying, because they're in a cult, they're just cheering Trump is God. That's the only
If they were cheering Trump is king, that would be a little different. But when somebody says, I'm the living embodiment of the Constitution, I don't think they actually mean that he is above the Constitution. I think they're saying he hasn't violated it. Like if someone says, I live and breathe the Constitution, that doesn't mean that they're above it.
Hey, okay. Look. I wish we had polling on this, but I bet you if I go to a Trump rally, I'm like, okay, Trump being stopped by the Supreme Court, he's saying, no, we're in such an emergency that we have to suspend Supreme Court decisions, and I'm gonna act against them. Like a solid 70% of MAGA is like, yeah, okay.
Well, to be clear, I'm pretty sure he actually does have that power. He has the power to basically be a dictator in emergency.
Just Lincoln, just go Lincoln.
I'm not saying that'd be good. I'm just saying he does technically have that power. But regardless, but I'm being pedantic when I say that. If you were to go up to,
I've heard it before, but when I brought up the terminate the Constitution thing, I just don't know to what extent it's real. But
yeah, you have the president has deference in times of national emergency, but it like obviously if Donald Trump declared a state of national emergency because people were being mean to him on Twitter, that's not you can't do that. But if we're at like times of war, if we're in a declared war, we don't have the same rights that we do otherwise. That's the idea.
Okay, but Trumpists would.
And also the terminate the Constitution line is stupid otherwise, because you wouldn't need to terminate the Constitution in order to have those powers. That's laid out in the Constitution. Regardless,
sure.
If you were to go
Trump
up,
was still saying you can terminate parts of the Constitution, and they supported it.
No, because one.
Yeah.
No, because one, that tweet is not something that a lot of conservatives are familiar with. And two, give me a second.
I understand not a lot of conservatives are familiar with it. I have familiarized them with it, okay? I talked to a lot of conservatives, and I kept showing them this. And maybe like 4 of them were like, okay, yeah, that's bad.
I think it's because people don't realize the gravity of tweets. If he were to come out, they don't. They just don't. People don't realize the gravity of tweets.
The gravity of norms. They don't realize the gravity of anything. When MAGA...
What do you mean they don't realize...
When MAGA is cheering on Posobiec, when MAGA is listening to Trump, they're not processing propositions and evaluating them as true, saying, oh, this proposition was true, I'm going to clap. That's not what's going on.
They are implicitly. They absolutely are implicit. Even if they're not doing it while knowing, they are absolutely implicitly evaluating whether or not a claim is true and then clapping accordingly. You just do that without thinking. That's something that your brain does. Like,
what, just the emotivism?
That's just something your brain does. Like, it evaluates if a claim is true and then claps for it. That's just natural.
Not when you're in a cult. Not when you're in a cult.
Yes, when you're in a cult.
Yes, when you're in a cult. Yeah, it works the same.
Fucking babies have the capability of doing that. They don't just. Why do you think they were cheering if they don't think it was because it was true?
No, they're cheering because they think Trump good, Trump God. That's like what they're cheering.
They also
You don't
probably
think
speaking the truth as
if you were
well
to
when
go-
you're saying Trump true, Trump God.
If you were to go to every member of that audience and you say, "Is Donald Trump violating the Constitution?" What do you think they're gonna say?
They're gonna say no.
Right. Okay. So it's not
But you-
because they
wait,
think
wait,
he's
if-
above
if-
it.
if-
It's because they don't think he's breaking it.
Greenwald. If Trump tomorrow, Supreme Court says, Trump, you did this, you cannot do this, and Trump is like, I'm not listening to you. And I asked them, is Trump violating the Constitution? They're still going to say no. Because when they hear violating the Constitution, they're not hearing, oh, there's this Constitution. It's a very sacred, important document, and we got to follow it.
I
Let's
just-
look at what it says. Oh, let me finish.
Yeah.
Let's look at what it says. Let's look at case law. Let's see how it applies. Okay, I evaluated it as Trump not violating it. No, what they're hearing is, oh, break the Constitution. That's bad, but Trump is good because he's God. So no, he's not violating the Constitution. And they're gonna keep saying it if Trump is saying I can subvert the Supreme Court. They're gonna still say it.
Maybe a little, but I don't think the majority of MAGA is at that point.
Okay, well, I'm just I at this point I'm wishing for Trump to do it so I can just be vindicated. Like
Maybe you will be vindicated. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong. I'm sure you know I will.
I'll be there to yeah.
I don't think
defeat
most of
the-
MAGA would follow him after violating a Supreme Court order.
Okay. Want to bet on it?
No,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not betting on it. I'm broke.
Oh.
I need to update my computer
Well,
first.
I'm also broke. I'm less broke because I'm betting on stuff. But yeah.
And also, I mean, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Like I wouldn't be absolutely shocked. I just don't think I don't think we're at that point.
No, I understand. I understand. You're not saying it's literally impossible. We just have different analyses of the
Of where MAGA's at, yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think MAGA's at, Reynolds?
I think a lot of MAGA's problem is that they don't trust any information outside of Donald Trump, or it's
No.
rather okay. I think the problem is that they hear information from Donald Trump and then have no critical thinking skills. But I don't think there's a way that you can twist Donald Trump ignoring a Supreme Court order to favor Donald Trump. I might be wrong, but we'll have to see.
I just don't understand how you can have this mindset of like, this is the one true principle MAGA has. Yeah, they said they care about all the other stuff. They lied, but this principle they actually hold. Like, no,
I don't think
no,
I don't think they're
hold that
lying
either.
about their principles. I
It's
just
induction.
I don't necessarily think they're lying about their principles. I think it's A, they don't trust any institution to prove them wrong, and B, they're trusting institutions that are like feeding them what they want to hear. I don't think it's that they don't care.
No, they look. What institutions are they trusting? So Fox News. What the moment Fox News became like any Trump critical.
When I say
they were like,
institutions, I mean like the three-letter agencies. I mean like data givers. I don't mean like mainstream media.
You mean the ones that Kash Patel is actively investigating as we speak?
Yes, that's. I don't think they trust those, but I don't think it's because. I don't think it's that they don't have principles. I think it's that they just can't trust anything.
No, somebody's in your waiting room, by the way.
Who is it? Is it someone new?
But look. I'm just saying. There are only two times. I think. Let me remind myself of the second time. Actually, don't remember. I remember only one time where I saw a glimpse of critical thought from MAGA, and it's when Trump took credit for Operation Warp Speed in like 2022, and they booed him for it.
Yeah.
He might
Okay?
take credit.
They still
He was
boo
like
all
saying,
the
"Oh, I
vaccine
did the vaccines," and then MAGA booed him. So that tells me like two things. One, they can potentially, in like 0.1% of cases, go against God Emperor Trump, but it's never anything pro-establishment, pro-United States, pro-West thing.
Well,
It's
there's
always going to be.
there's a difference between
crazy,
pro-establishment and
pugilistic,
pro-United
fascist.
States.
No. But what I'm saying is, to the extent I have evidence that MAGA can go against Trump, it's never in such a way that would be of the sort that violating a Supreme Court order. You would oppose it on the ground. Like you would never
Maybe.
oppose Trump opposing a Supreme Court order on the grounds that it's like they would never oppose it because it's good for the United States or something. They're like, to the extent they're critical of Trump, it's because it goes against like this Putinistic, fascist, anti-West worldview that they represent.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
go ahead.
Welcome, Sage Master. How's it going?
Yeah. Hello. I found you through Wix channel, actually. Funny enough,
Oh, cool.
that's how I found you. To be clear. But yeah. So I don't want to interrupt the conversation as of yet. I want to see where this plays out.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you're good.
okay.
I think we've more or less hit a snag here though, because I don't think we're at a point where we can come to an. We're just kind of at it like a fuck around and find out position where like if I'm wrong then I'll eat my words, and I'll owe sample text a lot of I told you
What do you really
so's,
lose?
but
What do you really lose for like being wrong though? Because I mean, in either way, no matter what
no,
everybody.
I'd win big if I was wrong, but I'd just owe him a lot of I told you so, or if I'm right, but I'll just owe him a lot of I told you so's.
Okay.
If I'm
Yeah, let's also be very clear. Well, what would it? Are we just going like assume tomorrow? Trump says, I'm violating his Supreme Court order or something. Like,
Yeah.
how would we tell who's right? Like, would we just like go based off it when you see it? Because I'm a decent. I'm not gonna be like, oh.
I think
well,
it's
you
know
didn't
it when you
see
see it, I would
or
say.
anything.
I think it's probably going to
I'm okay
be
with knowing my vibe.
in a
I'm not
similar
gonna lie
way
to you
to
about that.
in a similar way to how he's violating the TRO right now. So like we know that he's violating the TRO because it ordered that he unfreeze the spending and then he didn't. So if this Supreme Court thing says, hey, for the whistleblower one, for example, it says, hey, you can't fire this person, you don't have that authority, and then he's like, okay, and then he fires him anyway, that's violating a Supreme Court order.
No, I'm saying how would we like tell who's right? Like, how would we be like, okay, did MAGA actually go against him? How would we evaluate it? I'm okay by saying with vibe. I'm not gonna lie
I
to
mean,
you
the
about
town
my
halls
vibe.
are a clear example
If-
of this. I think.
It would be polling partially, but if we are at a point where he violates a Supreme Court order, the only meaningful pushback that I think I would take is he'd either need to get impeached or there'd have to be like a mass exodus of the Republican Party. It'd have to be big.
Yeah.
So
I think you may
I'll
even
probably
see,
defer
like-
mostly to you.
Also, another thing. I somewhat can expect MAGA to be like, yeah, that's bad. I don't think they're gonna leave the movement. They may say like, oh yeah, it's bad, but Hunter Biden or something like they're gonna do what about it?
I'd count that. I think there'd have to be like a mass leaving of the Republican Party or like a big tank in
that
approval.
as me being like correct.
Or there'd have to be like a big tank in approval for Donald Trump. Like it'd have to be.
No, that's not gonna happen. That's not
I think there's a clear. I think we have somewhat an idea when it comes to, like the. Have you guys caught up with the like town halls and how Republican like representatives are getting called out for their bullshit?
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh boy.
Hold on.
like if MAGA that movement, then we kind of unite.
Hello.
Oh, okay. My internet's been fucky. Okay.
I'm listening. I'm
Master
petting my cat.
Sage, your connection's cutting out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's bad.
I thought it
It's
was
really
me.
bad. Yeah.
My internet's been fucking
There-
dog shit all night.
Oh boy.
Is it good or?
Keep talking.
Nope.
I got a new mic, by the way, so this is probably it. Probably I need to adjust it.
You sound
Better.
okay. Yeah, you sound okay right now.
Okay.
So if you could restart.
My bad.
No, you're good.
So what I was saying explicitly, we Republicans, well, in these town halls specifically, Republicans are getting called out on their bullshit. That somewhat gives an idea of like what, quote unquote, how MAGA is going to leave their movement. But I would say like it depends, like it depends really on like if how much Trump fucks up. It directly impacts like MAGA itself, I would argue.
Well, I would
That's what I
say
would say.
with the town hall thing, I think we're just seeing like more energy from Democrats. I don't think that the town halls are showing like MAGA turning on them. It's more so just other Democrats feeling more energized.
Or more so, I would say more so centrist, to be honest. I would say it's really more.
Town hall.
Maybe. Maybe, but I'd have to see. I don't know.
Yeah. From my understanding, like these districts are like 14 plus Trump base like areas. From my understanding,
It could be.
Just looking stuff up.
I've just seen like I know that there's that one clip of the lady getting escorted quote unquote illegally. I don't know about the validity of that, but that's the main clip that I'm familiar with.
Here's the
Yeah, let
question.
me see if I can find it on my end. Yeah, let me
Here's
see if
the
I can find it on my end.
Here's a question.
Mhm.
If Trump calls in the next year or two, calls for like the execution of a political opponent, do you expect
What?
we see a MAGA exodus?
Probably.
No,
Like, no.
If Trump, no,
Depends on the person.
if Trump says something like, and
Yeah, it depends on the
crimes of
person.
Biden, the crimes of Biden have been so immense, and to be honest, they deserve execution for it. Like, I don't think he sees anything. And also, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a concrete example. Elon Musk, July tweets. Okay, so Mike Johnson is tweeting about the Save Act or whatever retarded shit he's working on, and then Elon Musk quote tweets him and saying, "Whoever opposes this bill is a traitor." All caps, traitor, and you know what needs to happen to traitors. Okay, just openly, like, if not directly.
I
just
don't
calling for the
think
death
that's a
of people.
I don't
No,
think that's
that's
a
not
death
what
threat.
that means.
Yeah, I don't think that's a death
Bro,
threat.
That's
Of course
not
it
what
is.
that
What else
means.
is it?
No, of course not.
A death
What?
no, calling someone a traitor isn't a death threat. I call
Yeah.
Donald
Wait,
Trump.
wait, no,
I
no,
call
no,
I
no,
call
no, no,
MAGA
no, no,
traitors
no, 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 no,
all the
no,
fucking
no,
time.
no, no. It's not just calling someone a traitor. When you say he's a traitor and you know what needs to happen to traitors, that
Oh
part.
wait, did he say you know what has to happen to traitors?
Bro, why does no one care about this? I was freaking out about this, and the only thing I could find about this is one article from Fox. Yeah,
didn't
he
see
said
it.
He got
Link me,
What's the
link me.
tweet? Yeah,
Yeah,
what's the
here you go.
tweet?
Here you go. Here you go. In the side chat.
Because listen,
Again.
I've got nothing against calling Elon Musk out. I think he's an evil piece of shit.
Okay, but MAGA didn't care. No one cared. Look, the only
Well,
reason I
that-
cared
that-
about this is
well,
a friend
then
of mine linked it to me. A friend of mine linked it to me and said crazy shit. And I was
Your
like,
answer,
wait, this
your
is
answer
World
to
War
that is
II.
right there. It's that no one knew about it.
Okay, but no. This got like 300K likes.
If
On-
I
on
didn't
Twitter.
if I didn't know about it, then a lot of people didn't. Know about
Okay,
it.
maybe it's so normalized that they actually would support it.
I don't think so.
He said,
But
here.
regardless,
Okay, but you agree that this tweet shows what I said?
yes, I agree
Wait,
that
where-
it shows
where'd you
what you
post
said.
that?
It's in
Where'd
general.
you send that?
It's in general.
Okay.
In the
I mean-
side.
Yeah, I agree that this shows what you said. However, you didn't let me answer. So okay, so if Donald Trump calls for the death penalty of a Democratic politician, it depends on two things. It depends on one, how serious the threat is, and it depends on two, who the politician is. Mostly on how serious the threat is, though. If Donald Trump came out and said this, I wouldn't expect to see an exodus. If Donald Trump was actually trying to push for like criminal death penalty charges against a Democratic opponent, or like did the National Guard shit, I think there would be. Mass
yeah,
exodus.
probably. No, I was just saying calling on it, not.
If
like,
he just said it
actively,
in a tweet or something, I wouldn't expect MAGA to leave.
Okay, but that's like really bad.
Yes, I agree. You're not gonna catch me defending MAGA.
No, that's like Civil War bad. Like,
I mean, I think it's fair to say that MAGA is at that
Civil
point of like
maybe.
they are supporting like.
I would be like well-regulated
flags and
militias at that point. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
like MAGA is very explicit. Like, it's supporting like the South, specifically the Confederacy. I think at this point, like MAGA is somewhat considered like traitors to this country. Anyways,
Well, I agree
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're traitors to the country. The question is, basically, how do you
What do you
treat
think
that?
needs to happen?
Or do
Traitors
you
from-
abandon all of your norms because someone is like, being disrespectful to the nation's founding? Like, I don't think so. I don't think we're at a point where
it's
we
more
abandon
so like
all of our norms.
this idea of like
Also,
I think
here's
this is
a
the
quote
idea
on
of like
the-
game theory, where you what I mean by game theory is, so essentially like if MAGA talk shit, you talk shit back. If they say something fucking outrageous, you say something.
Yeah, tit for
else.
tat. Yeah.
Yeah, tick for tap. Yeah.
But it
I
can't be
agree
that
to an
way,
extent. I agree to an extent.
Yeah.
Because I agree with if they say something fucked up, then you can say something fucked up back. Like, that's fine. If you want to call them the R word, I don't give a fuck. Or if you even want to do like the fucking like weird like bullet memes that Hassan does, it's like I'm not even
There's
gonna be
also
that mad
tit
about
tat
that.
tat.
And I'm not going to be so mad that it's going to outweigh my anger at MAGA for their actual like it's not gonna be a distraction for me. The problem is that if we start saying like, oh yeah, Donald Trump led an insurrection, so we are also just gonna like deny all these election results and try and like do all the false electors, that I'd be like, okay, now we just don't have a country. Like if everyone ignores norms, then we don't have norms. If half the country ignores norms, then we still have norms. That's the idea.
How much do you think we need to no longer have norms? Like a majority, or
How
No, but
what do you
here,
mean?
even in game theory, there's like tit for tat, where you respond more than what you were like given, and that makes sense as well. But like, it's just, look. I mean, if Trump says, Pelosi and Biden and the crime family and the J6, whatever, they're like traitors, and you know what needs to happen to traitors. That to me is like
That
civil
we would be
war,
at another
where we're gonna
we
make
would
people-
we would be at another level there, but it would depend
and he
on
would
Trump
not
saying it.
suffer, and MAGA would not abandon him for saying.
I agree MAGA wouldn't abandon them, but then
So
we would
why
be in a
they
different
abandon him
system.
for, like,
At
things Supreme
that
Court
point,
not stop?
at that
Yeah, go
point,
ahead.
then we might be able to abandon some of our norms because we're in a completely different system than we are right now.
No, I'm not asking about.
I
that.
think
I'm
I think my
asking-
position
no,
on
no,
this is like we need to
no,
be like
wait,
flexible
just one
with our
second.
norms in
I'm
this
not,
era
wait.
of politics.
I'm not asking about where we go from there. I'm not asking about, okay, once this happened, then we can violate norms. I'm just saying, I don't know why you would think, okay, Trump can call for the execution of political opponents, and he will not abandon his cult. But no, if he just says the Supreme Court cannot stop me, then that's beyond the pale. They'll abandon him. Like, that just makes no sense to me. They don't respect institutions, let alone human life. Like,
Because
it's
the
just,
Supreme Court's a different institution. It leans red. Donald Trump appointed all of them, and it's the law. He ignored a TRO, and people don't care because it's just a TRO. It's just a district court or
The
whatever.
law.
He violated a couple federal laws, but those federal laws they'll just say is unconstitutional. You can't say like I don't see MAGA coming out and saying that the Supreme Court cannot check the.
Oh no,
the
you're
executive.
right, Reynald. You're right. It's the law. I mean, they would never support Trump
No,
if he
it's
said
not-
like he could terminate the Constitution.
no,
or something.
it's-
Yeah.
If that was different, because not most Republicans don't know about that tweet, and it's
Already
just a
told you,
tweet.
but most MAGA that I showed them this, they still supported him.
It's just a tweet. That's the thing. I agree that it's a cop out answer, but the thing is that that's not a
you're saying if
concrete
he actually
answer.
tried-
That's not a
you're
concrete
saying if he
action.
No, okay. You're saying if he actually tried to suspend the Constitution, then they would abandon him. I just
Yes.
disagree. But, okay.
uh,
I mean, I have evidence, but that's not enough. Maybe that's
maybe who knows?
Because
All right,
I've-
I'm gonna
I
go.
think
All
it,
right, I love you, Koi.
Okay, I love you too.
But yeah, the thing is that like I argue about that Constitution tweet all the fucking time, and the argument that I always get is that it's just a tweet because people don't realize that tweets are bad, and I agree that it's bad. I agree that it's probably just as bad as you think it is. The problem is that I don't think that MAGA understands that it's how. I don't think MAGA understands what it is. I don't think it's a problem of them. Not, like having. I don't think they support terminating the Constitution. I just don't think they understand how bad that tweet is. Yeah, you know.
To be clear, it's not a tweet. It's a Truth Social post.
Okay.
But, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, we just have different mental models of how MAGA works. The way I think MAGA works is like when they hear, if there's a poll and we ask them, is Trump breaking the Constitution? They're not thinking, okay, there's a document and Trump took some actions. Let's see if they're congruent or incongruent with the Constitution. Okay, I'm on the side of congruent. That's not what they're saying. They're saying, oh, break the Constitution, bad. Trump, good, obviously. So no, he's not breaking it.
It's
So
possible
even if
that
it's
they're.
like something like even
It's
if
possible
something
that they're
like-
doing that now because he hasn't violated, like he hasn't violated the Constitution in a way that is irreparable.
No, but this is what you're suffering from: high IQ syndrome. The average MAGA voter could not name you any amendment beyond like the first and second. So it's not like they care
you-
about the Constitution.
Do you think
Wait,
that?
it's not
Do you
like
think
they-
that the
it's not like
average?
they- it's
Do you
not
think
like
that
they
the
have a deep
average?
commitment-
Do you think that the
Wait, it's
average
not like
MAGA
they-
person,
it's
real quick?
not like they have a deep
Do you,
commitment to
do you
like the
think
Supreme
that the
Court.
average
They just
MAGA
feel like
person?
people just make excuses. Go ahead.
Do you think
go
that the average MAGA person is aware that the Supreme Court, being the highest interpretation of the law, is in the Constitution?
Frankly, I don't think they even understand what the Supreme Court is. To be
think they
honest,
would. I think they, to the extent they understand it, they would justify Trump overcoming it.
I don't think so.
I feel like we're getting too. I feel like MAGA in and of itself, like they don't understand how the government works at all.
Exactly.
They
It's
don't.
proven.
They don't.
Yeah, when you
but
Reno,
they
okay,
understand.
that's
I
the
think they
fatal
understand the
concession.
role of the Supreme Court, though.
Okay, but that's the fatal concession. Once you grant that they don't understand politics on the level that you are, you're high IQ, you understand politics, so you can talk to me about norms and the Supreme Court and how breach of a violation it is, how egregious of a breach it is. I agree. They don't understand, and
But
once you don't understand, once you don't understand, you have the superpower. When you're retarded and you don't understand a topic, you have the superpower of just like talking about extremes and like making nonsense claims and thinking that they're true. So for example, like I talk about tariffs or something, right? Like a MAGA person can look at me directly in the eyes and tell me like, no, it doesn't reduce net jobs, it doesn't affect, and if anything, tariffs reduce prices. Because they don't have any economic understanding, they're saying something that is so profoundly retarded economically. The only way you can say it is if you don't understand economics at all, and they don't. Right, when they don't understand,
I guess in
when they
that
don't
scenario,
understand when they don't understand the law or the way the country works or norms at all, they will be okay and expect any violation. They
But
will justify it. They will say,
the thing
okay, but
is-
we're in crisis.
Wait, I
Trump,
wanna,
people, and whatever. People say, go ahead.
Okay, so even in your example about tariffs, even that example, I guess I would give like one example, go a little bit more further, and say, well, tariffs affect this field, field of. I'm pretty sure tariffs affect like farming directly, from my understanding.
Mhm.
Last time, like Trump did tariffs, I believe it was soybeans. I believe, from my
Yeah.
understanding,
Mhm.
that like that's clearly like one clear example like where it directly affects like Americans and these people are living in rural areas. That's like that's what I would say. Like
Here's the
it's a
difference.
simple, clear example of how tariffs affect people.
Here's the difference: is that one, the way that the government functions and econ is completely different. Econ is a billion times more confusing, and no one knows anything about econ. A lot of economists don't know a lot about econ. So, knowing how the government works cursorily compared to knowing how tariffs affect your fucking like domestic production, 1000% different.
They just increase
And then-
prices. They just increase prices. That's what I said.
I understand
go
that. Most people don't. Most people don't know who pays a tariff. Most people
Most people don't know the three branches of government, dog.
stop. It
That's
doesn't.
wasted.
That doesn't matter. I'm
It matters
I'm
a
not
lot.
citing. I'm not citing something that's like super hyper niche. I'm not citing the Electoral Count Act to them.
know.
I'm
I
citing.
know.
If anybody voted for the president, they know what the Supreme Court is and what the Supreme Court does.
No.
Yes.
Most people could not name three branches of government. That's not.
That doesn't
esoteric.
matter.
It's still
That's not
Most
esoteric.
people know
But
that.
what the three branches of government isn't relevant as to what the Supreme Court does. That's a much more niche thing for people to know than what the Supreme Court does generally.
branches of government
In the
is
same way
many.
that just because they can't say executive, judicial, legislative, that doesn't mean they don't know what Congress does.
Okay.
I think-
Look. I've had Trumpists look me in the eyes and tell me that a tariff is not a tax.
I understand.
There is no niche
Econ
here.
is different. Econ is different than government.
No, it's to the point where
You can live
I
your
don't
whole
know-
life without
okay,
knowing
look, wait,
economic policy, and you'd be fine.
I agree that you don't know econ. Look, I agree. Look, I agree. Econ is like harder to understand than like what a law does or whatever because
What the Supreme Court does,
taught
yeah.
from age 0. Okay. The problem is this: when a Trumpist looks at me in the eyes and says like a tariff is not a tax, what I'm thinking is not okay. How do I explain to them that they're wrong? What I'm thinking is, wait, what do you even mean when you say tariff? Do you understand what you're saying? And they don't, because the way they're operating is not propositional. They're not saying propositions and making truth claims about reality. What they're telling me is Trump good, Trump God.
No, they're repeating like slogans
Okay.
back to you. To be
When a
exact.
Trumpist will, when Trump violates a Supreme Court order, Trumpist will tell you it's constitutional, not because they have an understanding of the Constitution and they have a model and they compare stuff and they have some principle to the Constitution and the Supreme Court that they can reference. No, what they will tell you is that it is constitutional because I don't know, maybe we're in such a bad time, or maybe it was cheated, or they can say a million things. They can contradict each other. It doesn't matter. It ultimately bottoms out at, it's not propositional. It's just Trump good, Trump God. That's all. That's all.
I think
I don't agree. I don't agree
I
because
get that.
real quick. I don't agree because I think the way that government functions and what the Supreme Court does is fundamental, and everybody knows it. That's not the same case for any econ policy. That's not the same case for any other governmental thing other than Congress passing laws. And the executive order thing muddies that up. They know that the president has no authority to determine what the law is. If they ignore the Supreme Court, it is hyper cut and dry. It is more cut and dry than any other thing in the world. I would argue that other things are cut and dry to the point that MAGA should know, but I think they are smart enough to realize that this is different than anything else that he has done.
No.
Okay, wait. I want to say this. Like, I get like it's Trump bad, Trump good, Trump good, Trump left bad. I get that mindset. I do. But at the same time, I would guess in that situation, that the example that you brought up about these Trump supporters saying that they don't like understand like what a tariff is. They're essentially repeating like slogans like back to you. Tariffs are not a tax. Well, they're repeating like slogans they heard from the pundits. They told you. I think that's clear. That's very clear from all this.
I agree.
That they're trapped in their own their own ecosystem.
But the
conservative
thing
ecosystem, to
is
be exact.
that the only reason that they're repeating those slogans is because they don't know how that works. They're not going to, like, if they're saying I need to breathe air, it's not because it's not because they heard that as a slogan. It's because they know they need to breathe air. I think conservatives know what the Supreme Court does, and they would probably have a little more critical thinking about any talking point about Donald Trump ignoring a court order than they would with any econ thing. I don't think it's comparable to econ.
No, look. I don't. You agree with me? MAGA is like a fascist movement, right?
Yes.
So okay, why are we expecting fascists to like suddenly respect Supreme Court? What they'll
because
say,
I don't think the
what they'll
MAGA.
say-
I don't think the
Wait,
MAGA
wait,
voters.
very important,
No,
very
this is
important.
important. This is
I already
important.
have-
This is important. This is no
Well,
sample.
no,
This is important. It's my stream. This is important. This is my
important.
stream.
But I'm also important.
It doesn't
Okay,
matter. This is
go
my
ahead.
stream. This is
Go
a
ahead.
dictatorship. I don't think MAGA supporters
Based.
are necessarily fascist. I think that the people running MAGA are fascist and that all of the people following them are just really stupid. But I don't think the voters are necessarily fascist.
Okay, here's where we disagree. I mean, I think if you're a MAGA person, you're like legitimately fascistic in the way you think and the way you operate and your respect to norms and institutions. Like what they'll tell you is, Trump breaks the
I think
Supreme
they're
Court.
politically biased.
What
To
they'll
be
tell you
exact, I
is,
think that's my
even if they
position
tell-
at the
Even
moment.
if they would tell you, so here's what I said. So I'm predicting that they will say it's not unconstitutional. If they will say it is unconstitutional, because okay, you know what, Reynold, okay, so okay, let me make a distinction or something, because that might be helpful to think about it analytically. Okay, there are two situations: they understand what they're talking about and they're making propositions, and they don't understand what they're talking about and they're not making propositions. Okay, in the latter case, that's less scary to me, and I'll explain. In the latter case, they're just like, brain dead, Trump God, it's a motivist, whatever. Okay. In the second case, it's more scary because they do understand it, and because they understand it, I agree with you, they will say it's unconstitutional. The problem is, they will not think it's bad enough to oppose dear leader. What they will say is, okay, yeah, I agree with you, this violates the Constitution, but, look, we're in such dire times. We're by a corrupt opposition. There's a deep state. I mean, look at Bush. He just declared a war and it was unconstitutional. Nothing happened to him. Presidents can break the Constitution and they're never punished, but it's because Trump does it. Now they think the Constitution matters. No, I support Trump violating it because whataboutism. That's what they'll say. And
I
that's
think-
a propositional.
I
That's
think
way
that a lot of
scarier.
I think that a
Yeah.
lot of like higher up like Republican pundits will do that. Like I think that's something Tucker Carlson would say. I think that's even something that people like Rob Noor would say. But I don't think they're representative of the like MAGA voters per se. Now
Well,
again, just to be clear, I know that I could be wrong on this. Call me just like hopium if you want to. I could be wrong on it, but I truly do not think that that's the state that that Republican voters are in. I think that's the state that the people running the Republican Party are in. I don't think that's the state that the voters are in.
Okay, I get
I
both.
don't call you opium or
positions.
something. I think you're very, very smart. I don't want to be aggressive too much, but I just think you're dead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to like state like my position on this. My thought process on this is generally I feel like MAGA, like average like voters, it's a mixture. They have clearly political biases, and it's a mixture of that and their stupidity as well. It's this combination of like two things that make them both politically biased and what I mean by politically biased in this situation, like they're fully aware what the Supreme Court is. They understand that on some level. They may not understand it entirely, but they do understand it. At the same time, they're stupid as well to a degree. They're ignorant when it comes to like understanding the full scope of the federal government itself. That's my position on this moment.
So I think here's the problem is that
Yeah.
I think conservatives are good at preying on people's stupidity. I think that whenever there's a complicated answer to something, the conservatives are really good at giving a simple answer to something. So like when you look at the election denial, it's a lot easier to say, "Oh, my favorite guy lost because it was rigged," than to be like, "Oh, well, you know, like it went through this certification and this like it went through this machine." And they're like, "Okay, the ballot went out of my hands and now, you know, Trump didn't win, so it was rigged." Like I think that's genuinely how simple conservative viewers think. However, I think I think the simplicity of the Supreme Court ruled this, Donald Trump broke it, would be simple enough to appeal to them. I think.
Okay, so here's my rebuttal. So the first thing I'm gonna say, I know you're gonna want to interrupt me in response to that. That's the less material point. But the first thing I'm gonna say is, we already have like 50 things like that where it's like clear cut, and they still deny it. Like for example, like I've seen. I'm not gonna give examples because that's not my main point.
Yeah.
But it's like they're like not even tariffs. I'm thinking like I saw Dean like show people the signed judge, like the judge signing the jury verdict or whatever about Trump being like, you know, held liable of sexual assault, and they still denied it when it was in their face. So like that was one thing I was thinking about. But whatever, okay. But here's the second thing I wanted, like the more important thing, okay. And maybe once we understand this, we can understand what I think Trumpists will do. Okay. Have you ever talked to someone and asked them what will change your mind, and they said nothing?
No, they've never said nothing.
No. You've never talked to someone and they said nothing will change my mind?
No, not explicitly.
Oh, this happened to me a lot. So what I hear when what I understand them to say is not like they understand what they're saying or the gravity of the cultishness of what they're saying. What I think is going on is that they're thinking, okay, if I put a line in the sand, well, this guy knows more than me. So if I put a line in the sand, surely he will be able to provide me something like that. And so I would look really dumb. Right? So they expect me to be able to answer whatever line in the sand will be an honest answer. And so they're just saying nothing because it has the benefit of like feeling good, right? You feel like vindicated and you're immune to evidence, right? That's legitimately a superpower, right? Like saying nothing will change my mind. Oh yeah, that's very comforting. Okay. So they're opting for an option that is both comforting and immunizing them from like a response from me. Okay. So why am I saying this? If I ask them, okay, is what Trump is doing, or like what can Trump do that will make you stop supporting him? Okay.
Yeah.
If they say something sensible, they know I can already show them that Trump did that. Okay. And if I ask them, if Trump violates a Supreme Court order, okay, would you stop supporting him? Right? what they're gonna say, what they're gonna say is no. I will still. I'm sorry. They're gonna say yes. I will still support him, because what they're saying is what they're thinking is either, oh shit, Trump already did this and he can show it to me, which he did not. But okay, they may be stupid and they think I can already do it to them, or they understand, like me and you, that it's very likely that Trump's gonna do it and they want to keep supporting Trump. So they're gonna say no. I will still support him. That's very comforting. You don't need to change your
No,
mind.
Wait, I have something to say on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think my position on this is like I would say that generally I feel like MAGA voters, and I've seen this like in my real life in my own family as well, is that MAGA voters, they have a carefree attitude. So long as it doesn't affect them directly, they don't care. And when it does affect them directly, they do care. That's generally like a clear example of this, like with federal workers who are Trump supporters, like they're getting all pissed off now that they're getting fired. That's one example in the media at the moment.
I don't even think that like most Trump supporters would go even if his policies were directly affecting them. Like for example, the farmers. Like the farmers still stuck by him even though, those tariffs were absolutely fucking them in the butthole. So.
No, but a lot of the way fascism works is like this racial, like this egoism thing, right? Where it's like, okay, I just care about what's good for me. I don't care about minorities. I don't care about rule of law. All that can go to shit as long as it benefits me. And so, if Trump does something and it doesn't really affect them, it affects like migrants, which are already evil and whatever, they're brown, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go with the clear-cut example of Trump breaking the Constitution, right? Like the 14th Amendment saying birthright citizenship is not enforceable anymore. Okay. Well, Supreme Court says Trump stopped that, and he's like, no. What they're going to say is either, okay, it doesn't affect me, so I don't understand how truly bad this is. And, if I tell Sample Text, oh, yeah, we'll stop supporting Trump when he does this. One, they understand, just like me and you, that Trump is likely to break this, so they're gonna say no. Why would you support someone when you think it's likely that they're gonna breach your line in the sand? You're not gonna. You never had that line in the sand in the first place, so they're gonna still support him.
My
right?
hunch.
And also,
wait, I want to push back on this idea of like they will 100% support him. I feel like
it'd be very comfortable for them to say I still support him because it doesn't affect them.
So I may be being, super optimistic or whatever. I don't think that MAGA would say that they'd become like, if you were to ask a MAGA person right now, would you be fine if Donald Trump violated a court order? I don't think they'd say yes. I don't.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I would say that part of it is, how people don't like to be wrong.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the justification that MAGA people give, and there's also the thing that like you can't change somebody's mind overnight. A lot of the behavior that I see MAGA exhibit is often just, I don't want to admit I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So it could be that they would say something like that in passing, but they just wouldn't believe it. The only way that we find like an actual answer to this is if it happens and where the polling lies. Like I said, I'm like 30%, 30% capable of this. Like I think there is a 30% chance of this happening still. So, I mean, it's not like I think this is impossible. I think it's very possible, and I think I'm super scared about the fact that it is super possible, but I just don't think we're at a point where it is going, more likely than not, going to happen.
And
I want to say this. I feel like I feel like in terms of like MAGA itself, I feel like there is going to be like a red line that they're going to cross. I think like a clear example of this. Remember the H1B1 debate that MAGA was having?
Yeah.
Well back. I think that's like one clear example. Like,
I think that was
like there are clearly red
yeah.
lines that they wouldn't support like Trump if he went.
The question is then,
Well,
are those red lines?
I think it was largely online, but like I don't think like Musk is IRL, right? Like Musk meets with Trump like almost like 25 hours a day. Okay, like they're close. So when Musk says something, okay, but like largely the people who know what H1B is and oppose it, like are like online. They're not really in his base, so it doesn't really hurt Trump. Okay, but like Rinyal, when you said it's 30%, did you say it's 30% that Trump does it and they support him, or 30% given that Trump does it they support?
30% given that Trump does it.
Yeah, I'm like at 70%. So we're like
Yeah, so we're just
opposite.
flipped.
So that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for me at the moment.
Which I just want to restate this again. 30% is way, way, way too fucking high.
Of course.
It should be in a good
would
world. In 2008, it would have been 0% chance if Mitt Romney violated the Constitution that they would be like, "Fuck this guy," you know?
Yeah, I'm at like, I'll tell you, I'll be honest, man. If Trump tomorrow comes out and says like I am king, I think like.
Well, you already
10%
did say that,
chance
but
still-
like
I
legally.
think. No, like legally,
Okay.
like I'm king. I think 10% chance they still go with him. Like,
10% chance. We're talking about 10% chance, not 10% of the group, like a 10% chance that the minority or that the majority goes with
and
him.
MAGA largely stays intact and supports him.
I'm leaning more 75%.
10% chance that they
Really?
go with him, or 10%. Yeah, I'd probably say 10%
75%.
chance that they go with him.
Yeah, okay. So I just
say
want to see
75%.
how. Okay, I just want to see
75%
tested
that
go
they
with
do
him.
go with them.
Yeah, support Trump.
Shit.
That's
100%.
insane. That's insane. No, I don't.
Because I think
No way.
I
I would
think,
have bet on it.
we were on, I think it is true that to a certain extent, if all of the policies are directly fucking with them, then like we are to be a king
I
specifically
compare it
too.
to like a religion at this point. I really do.
Already or cold?
The problem is that I don't think a lot of people are Trumpists over Americans. And I think that people still value like I think easy if Donald Trump said like started campaigning on repealing the First Amendment, and MAGA would be gone. There's no shot.
Eh,
Well, no, but he
Maybe I
literally
have lost
campaigned
faith.
on, like, when you
I
say
was
First
saying, yeah.
Amendment, you mean speech that they like, because he literally campaigned on like banning or putting people in prison for burning the American flag, and they supported it. No matter how much
I
Supreme
mean,
Court
he is
precedent
going.
over
I
it.
mean, he is campaigning on removing the First Amendment, or like,
Okay.
you know, taking a case up to
I mean,
the
he
Supreme Court
kinda
to get
did
rid of
that,
the
but-
14th Amendment. I think
Yeah,
MAGA would be
maybe.
gone if he did that. So if he were to become a king, I think it would probably be the same thing in that they're American first. I think that they're looking for any excuse to do like a fucking, you know, Second Amendment trial. If he said, "I am king, I am legally king," I think that there would be like a well-regulated militia.
But here's the problem. So my claim is that MAGA will be like not even like thinking that it's unconstitutional when Trump breaks a Supreme Court order. Okay, I'm going with 70% for the real bad. Okay, I think there's like still a very solid percentage that they will do the Rob North thing where it's like, yeah, it's bad, but Hillary's emails. Okay, like, you know what
That's
I'm saying?
possible. For that,
Not specifically Hillary, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
it would
what-
be like,
what
oh,
did I-
Bush declared war, like he. I'm saying this because I already talked to Trumpists about like, look, Trump is breaking the Constitution right now, brazenly and openly,
Yeah, mhm.
and openly about the birthright citizenship, and like about like 70%, I want to say, of them were like, yeah, but Bush, you know, broke the Constitution, or like, you know, but yeah, presidents regularly break the Constitution. It's okay, whatever. Why is it only a problem when Trump does it or something? So I just expect them to, because they're illiterate retards, to be like, once Trump breaks the Supreme Court, be like, yeah, okay, but why are we only scrutinizing Trump, the Democrat, than before? And
I
Bush
give
and
that like
Barack
a.
and-
Okay, but they can do both of. They can do that at the same time as not supporting Donald Trump still.
No, but no, no. Of course you can say this was bad and not support him. That's what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna say, yeah, it's very, very bad that he's bringing in not support him. I'm saying a solid chance that they say, yeah, it's bad or whatever, but I still support him because what about Hillary or whatever?
I'd give that like a.
Like Rob Noor, right? Like Rob Noor, when he talks, like if you get him on something and he knows you're knowledgeable, he's gonna be like,
He'll go to the
yeah, I
FISA
agree it's
warrants. Yeah.
bad,
Mhm.
but yeah. So,
For that I'd give like a 40% chance.
well, but then MAGA stays intact.
Does MAGA
just-
stay intact? No, I don't think I don't think that meaningfully.
Bro, we've had 3-4 years now of like, hey, look, Trump, like, took these classified documents, flushed them down.
That's
the toilet.
true.
We have pictures. I mean, and
That's
then they're like, yeah, but Hillary's emails.
yeah,
Like,
that's
we've already
the
had 3 years
strongest
of that.
that's the strongest argument you have against me is that I would have thought that the insurrection would have been a deal breaker and it wasn't. I would have thought that the guilty verdict on his first felony case would have been the amount that they've pushed the boundary is probably enough to
It's
say that I
industrial.
have no idea what the
Industrial.
fuck is happening. Yeah.
It's very
It's
simple.
gonna
and
take the
right?
economy
Like,
to tank, to be honest.
Oh,
That's
this
really what
car,
it's gonna.
surely the car will stop like a mile before the cliff.
It's gonna take the
Oh, it
economy
did.
to the tank, really.
Half a mile before the cliff. Okay, now, I mean, at some point, it's just induction. The car is heading towards the cliff and no intention of stopping.
I agree
At some
that
point,
I'm not even disagreeing that the car is heading towards the cliff. I just don't know how long we're gonna wait to press the brake.
the drivers support it, or like the passengers support it.
Yeah,
so,
I just don't know how long we're gonna wait to press the brake. I would think it's before we're king, but before we're like defying.
No,
Or,
I think King is too much. I think King is.
I think
really
it's
out.
somewhere between I'm a king and I violated a court order. I think, yeah, I think it's
No,
right
I
at
just think
right
Court
after.
Order is so boring and lame. King is like movie shit. Like,
I agree. Yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, yeah, take my conviction like pretty low because I was wrong on all the rest of the shit. So I mean, who knows?
yeah. I mean, okay. You're smart. You're very smart.
Thanks.
I mean, but yeah, I don't know. I think we have a little bit of a different model of how they behave.
Well, I also try and because if I was just going off of like the people I debate or whatever, then I would say, yeah, 1000% these guys are fascists. They want like the authoritarian takeover of the country. Because all of the people that talk about politics, I think, do. But all of the people who aren't like, this is anecdotal, so take it for what you will. But people like my dad who are cursory Trump supporters, but doesn't really pay attention to politics, doesn't really, like engage with anything. I think if he were to see Donald Trump violate a court order, I think that would probably be the end of it.
Bro, okay, look.
I think
I asked my dad. Okay, if you, I'll talk about my dad.
Yeah.
Benjamin Netanyahu, he is like indicted for
Mm-hmm.
bribery and like I forgot how you say it in English. Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Corruption charges basically. All right. I mean, we talked about it one day. I'm not following the case. It's very boring to me. I don't care much about Israeli politics. I'll be honest.
Mhm.
But whatever. Inner politics. So I care about the conflict, but like inner politics,
Yeah, sure.
whatever, domestic. Okay. So I'm asking him, and there was a point where I asked him, okay, you think he's not guilty? I get it. You think he's not guilty? I'm not following. Whatever. I don't know where it's gonna go. You think he's not guilty? Assume for a second. I know you think it's unlikely, and I think you think it's heading the other way. Assume for a second the courts say, Bibi is guilty. He did it. He's guilty. Would you accept it? Would you still support him? And he's like, no, I won't accept it, and I would still support him. Right? And that really, made me realize people who are like this don't care. They don't care about norms. They don't have the concept of a norm because me and you were
It's not
suffering
directly
from high
affecting them,
IQ syndrome.
exactly.
We're suffering from liberal syndrome. We care about this. They don't. They operate differently. To the extent they understand what they're saying, they're like evil, and to the extent they don't understand what they're saying, it's a superpower.
I think the difference is that Israel is way different than the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. Courts work the same. Okay.
Courts work the same, but
Okay, let's be clear.
Courts work
Your
the-
court system compared to ours is like it's significantly different. Okay.
even if courts work the same, even if they did, the people's relationship to like tyranny, I don't think there's any country that has the same relationship to like rebelling against tyranny that the United States does.
Yeah. Surely MAGA will never support a dictator like Putin or something. Yeah, you're right.
We're talking pre MAGA, but regardless, I still think
MAGA, no one would stand for this. Of course.
I still think though that American rebelling against tyranny is still in there because even when supporting foreign dictators, that's not here. They don't really care.
No.
If there was a tyrant here, I think it would be different.
It's a LARP. What did they do against Biden? They were saying Biden was like a fascist totalitarian. What did they try to do against Biden? Nothing.
They
It's
launched
a
the impeachment
internet
inquiry,
LARP.
but I mean,
It's internet LARP. It doesn't affect them. No, I'm talking about on the ground, and also the impeachment inquiry was a joke. But I'm talking
I
about
agree.
like people on the ground. What did they do to like mobilize against Biden with like organized militias? Nothing. But they still claim he was like.
I'm sorry. Was there not an insurrection?
Okay,
I
let's be
mean,
clear.
while he
Let's
was
be clear, like
president, not
why,
while he was
more of, like
president.
why people like voted Trump out in 2020. Even like Republicans in the midterms before that as well. It was like COVID and his mismanagement of COVID. That's like one clear example of clear fuck up.
Mhm.
Yes, in that situation. So there are lines that people are going to draw in them, but I guess I would argue this is going to be on a state by state basis. I know in my state of Arizona, a bunch of like moderate and more Republican leaning Republicans like voted like for Biden in the last election, as well as like Mark Kelly, who peeled more towards those moderate Republicans as well. There's like that fan base is still there. It's just it just takes a lot for them to vote for a Dem. They're
Yeah.
clear.
I mean,
Yeah.
but here are two main problems with this. It's one, 2020 was a little bit different because one, still, what was it, like 46% of voters voted for Trump in 2020. So, like, still, it's not like Trump got crushed. Okay, it was very close. It was a very
Yeah,
close
but
Okay,
it-
but
it-
another thing, the insurrection was not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them, like, taking concrete steps against Biden. They never thought he was really dictator, right? They know they're
That is
lying when they're
absolute,
saying
but
he's
that's absolutely a concrete step against tyranny from the government. It's an insurrection.
No, I'm not talking about the stolen electors because that's something they actually believed, and of course they took stuff against that. I'm talking about like them claiming that Biden, like
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
know,
no, no,
can
no.
be
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that the
No?
people on the ground at the Capitol on January 6th tried to rise up against their government because they thought they were stealing the election from them. That's a concrete action against Biden because of his tyrannical overstep.
Sure. Maybe. I'll tell you what I'm surprised about January 6th. I'm surprised they did anything because I don't know how that affects that. Right? The COVID affected everyone. So that makes sense to me that there will be even backlash against Trump. Right? Vaccines related to COVID, it makes sense to me that they will boo Trump for vaccines. They would go against their leader, right? Against vaccines because one, vaccines are anti-establishment. They're like in the Putin sphere of things and not in the like USA sphere of things. So like they would still side with it because they're evil. And also it affects them personally. Like everyone knows what a vaccine is and has taken one at some point, hopefully. So like okay, but like Supreme Court orders. Do you think most of MAGA can name more than 2 Supreme Court judges? Like it's not. I don't think they
doesn't
have
matter.
the respect for it.
I don't think
I don't
that
think they have
matters.
the respect for understanding what they're saying. It doesn't affect them. They don't have the like motivation to side with it because it's like pro USA. And also, here's another thing I didn't mention so far, which I think would be very unpredictable but very crucial. A lot of MAGA like people are not like set in stone. They're very what do you call it?
Malleable.
Moldable. You can mold people in the
Yeah.
shape you want. I don't know. If that's the term.
Malleable.
So, malleable, yeah. If Elon Musk will decide, okay, Trump violating a Supreme Court order is in my interest, he can like, astroturf or whatever, boost the fuck out of like the narratives that would support his side.
That could be as well, but we would be living in a different environment if that is happening.
mean,
If they start
bro,
signaling towards that,
people
then
were
then ask me in a month.
These people were posting for a whole day about a squirrel, the squirrel thing, and forgot about it like a day later. It's all like mind control stuff. It's like 1984.
In
It's,
that
like, crazy.
case, if it comes to the point where they are starting to signal hardcore that they will be on board with it, then that's a different conversation. And hit me up in like a month, and I'll reassess my percentages.
Yeah. Also, all of this is given that Trump does this. I don't know what the chances that like the Supreme Court will side with him and he will like violate them.
I think the
don't
chances
I
are
don't know.
high that happens.
I think they would. the main thing restraining me is that it's so early. So I don't know how much they would want to be like, yeah, we're like that. It's now and it's early. Like that's really a little too
Okay.
scary. Like it's like
They
my
already
theory
violated the
predicts it
TRO.
so hard.
They're already saying that they would.
But like my current model of Trump predicts that they will do it so hard that like if I say that's what I predict, it feels like I'm just like tooting my own horn because like it's so obvious. Like that seems
Wait,
like too much in line with what I would say. So I don't know if I can say that.
So
I will say, okay. There's like one scenario where I can, in my mind, where like judges go against Trump. It's more so they're aware of the political like reality of like and the public pressure for them when they make this ruling, they will face immediate backlash. Like
Yeah.
talking mainly not just protests, but like
no,
political
I don't think
outcry.
that matters. That would have happened with Roe. That did happen with Roe.
Yeah, but Republicans got punished for that though. So
Supreme
because it
Court
wasn't
didn't, though.
initially a red wave though, as well. So
The Supreme Court didn't, though. Here's the reason. Here's
Also,
this is why like we need to set term
wait,
limits for
no,
Supreme Court
agree.
justices.
you're
Okay.
talking about like
I
you're
hate our current
like,
Supreme
packaging
Court
simple
justice system.
narrative. You're talking about packaging your like position in very simple terms and whatever. I agree. It would be very easy to be like, "Hey, Supreme Court said this. Trump did this." I agree that would be simple. They still have simple rebuttals, which would just be whataboutism and moving the goalposts. They could just say, "Look, Trump had a mandate. He was voted for by the people. We're in dire times. The last administration ruined this country, and we need fixing. You cannot do it easily." And Abraham Lincoln.
I don't
what I'm
think
saying
that's-
is very
I don't think-
easy,
I don't
and
think
very likely that Tucker Carlson's will say. So
I don't think
not,
I don't think that's as simple.
I think it is. I think it is.
But here's why. Okay, I think that the Supreme Court would side against Donald Trump, and it's for a couple reasons. One is that Trump v. U.S. was a really bad ruling, but it did kind of have the benefit of no one had ever ruled on presidential immunity for criminal actions, so they had a little bit of deference there, and it didn't like they were kind of able to skirt away with making that ruling. For birthright citizenship, for example, there is set case law there. We
Is that
already
the only reason? Or are
we've-
you saying something else?
huh?
You said you expect them to side against Trump for multiple reasons. The first thing is Trump v. USA, and what else?
Sorry, my mic cut out.
Okay.
I was waiting for it to reconnect. So in Trump v. US, it was kind of a novel thing. There was no like set legal precedence there, so they were kind of able to skirt away with a ruling like that. In like Trump v. Washington, the birthright citizenship case, there's already set case law there, and it's all super clear.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump threatens to not follow that order, then the Supreme Court's not going to stand for that because it's testing they're not going to compromise their own power. They're just not going to do
I
that.
was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah. So if they compromise their own power like that, politics aside, they're not going to do that. The question is if Donald Trump respects that.
That's why. Did you watch the Ezra Klein NPC video?
No.
Wait, what video?
You
What
should
video?
watch it. You should watch it. Something like the Republican Party has an NPC problem. It's a really good video. You should watch it.
You want to link
But
it?
basically, his point is like,
Wait, Simple.
NPC,
Can
they
you
call them
link that
blah,
video?
blah, blah. Right now, we have a big NPC problem, which is Congress. The Republicans in Congress are NPCs. They side with Trump no matter what, even to their own detriment, which is unprecedented, right? Like even before this, like it would be not very unusual that presidents would have to go against their own Congress, right? Because Congress would still be independent and they would still be self-interested. Now we're seeing that the Congress would let Trump trample over them, and maybe we'll see that with the SCOTUS. I don't expect it. So I agree with you. I expect them to side against Trump. I kind of disagree with you about Trump v. USA about why they ruled it like that. I don't think the main thing for why they ruled with Trump was because it's a novel thing and they can skirt the limit. I think the main thing is it was just more like a one-time thing. I'm saying something like meaningfully different. It's like a one-time thing, so they can say something like horrible and evil, and they think it would just not matter. Because I think they kind of like expected Trump to, even if he gets elected, to not like go like this and actually utilize like the immunity power, right?
I think that's
they were just wrong.
there's no
utilize something like that.
I don't think that they believe that Trump wouldn't utilize it because that's like they were like there was stuff that was literally Trump hardwired in there, like that you can't admit like official presidential actions like executive orders. Like that's like Trump hardwired. There's no shot that they didn't believe that this would affect like a future ruling. I think the Supreme Court has a solid idea of what their jurisdiction is and what their rulings, like the weight that their rulings carry. Fuck, I was gonna say something else.
Yeah, maybe. I just think Trump v. U.S. I don't. I'm trying to think of how can someone make such a horrible ruling, and five Supreme Court. Was it?
I mean,
3 or 5?
I mean, that's how we got the Dred
I
Scott
think it was
decision
3, right?
There-
from this.
Wait, was it
I mean, 1855 to be exact. That's one.
3 or 5-4? I think it was 6-3. Right?
I don't think I
think
thought it
Amy
was
Coney Barrett
5-4.
concurred in part. No, I think she concurred in part. Amy Coney.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay, but the reason that they ruled in Trump v. US makes kind of sense. Because they're just doing the originalism thing, kind of like halfway. Because their argument is just that, you know, in the Federalist it says that we want like a strong, unbound, powerful executive. So they just thought the best way to do that is to make him above the law, which is, I mean, true, but obviously the answer is then.
I would. I think. I don't know about that.
What?
Because my understanding, like George Washington, there's specifically like there's a reason like why he said the 2 terms for a reason.
Well, yeah, I agree.
As a
So
president.
what I was going to go on to say is obviously now you say okay, but they obviously didn't want a king, and that's like that's obviously not in the spirit of what the founders founded this country for. But that's the reason that they ruled in the way that they did have like some level of justification in the Federalist Papers. It was just read in a fucking stupid way.
Misinterpreted the Federalist Papers to be exact, from my understanding.
Yeah,
Of
but
that case
they
law.
misinterpreted it. But that quote, if you want a strong, unbound executive, it would naturally follow that you would remove a bound on that executive. The problem is that they just didn't take it into the proper context, and they cited a bunch of case law incorrectly. Like Nixon v. Fitzgerald had nothing to do with Trump v. U.S. I don't know why they even like.
I don't know. From that case law, that it made me question how intelligent the Supreme Court actually is. It really did. It really, like, fucking. Maybe like how like, are they just out of touch at this point? Like, it just raised so many questions.
Yeah, I have no idea why they would, why they ruled in the way that they did. In that regard, at least, like, because I feel like they're all smart enough to not. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just because, maybe it's just because they knew that like Trump put them in, so you know, throw them a bone. I don't know.
Political bias, in other words.
Yeah.
Fuck.